According to a government whistleblower, the Biden administration's lax border rules have allowed human traffickers to bring children into the United States for the purpose of prostitution. Tara Lee Rodas, a former Department of Health and Human Services manager, told Project Veritas that the result looks a lot like human trafficking.
So your trafficker in Guatemala, he's got to use the cartel to get his children across Mexico. But once he gets the children to the U.S. border, we take them. So we take the product. These vulnerable children, we care for them, we clothe them, we feed them, and then with your dollars and my dollars and the dollars of every person watching, we fly that product directly to the trafficker. The trafficker then has the ability to labor traffic that child until they're caught, if they ever are, and God forbid it's sex trafficking.
Is this true? And if so, what can be done about it? With me now to talk about it is Congressman Michael Cloud. He serves on the House Committee on Oversight and Reform. He represents the 27th Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Cloud, welcome to the program.
It's good to be with you tonight, and what an important topic to be covering.
Yeah, first, I do want to get your reaction to this report from the whistleblower. It seems almost unbelievable, because we have, there's lots of partisan differences, but I don't think anybody in America is trying to aid and abet human trafficking. What's your reaction to this accusation?
Well, we've been talking about this for several years. This is exactly what we've known has been happening. I've visited facilities where half the young women will admit to being assaulted on the journey. We've been talking about the fact that this is really a taxpayer-funded human trafficking. The cartels take them to the border. This administration's turned our border security apparatus into just a processing facility and a transportation mechanism to where many times the cartels take up that relationship at the end, and people put into either a work slavery relationship or a lot of times for these young women, sadly, a sex slavery relationship. And it's heartbreaking that this is happening. And especially, in times past, we've heard this put into terms of compassion, where, lawlessness is not compassion. And us doing the due diligence to make sure our borders are secure and that the people that are coming into our country are not being trafficked, that they're going through the right and proper legal process, that is actually compassionate. And what's happening right now is just horrific. It needs to be stopped. It's long overdue that we've let this go on for this long.
Are you saying that when an adult brings children to the Border Patrol simply takes the children, processes them, and then returns them to whatever adult brought them to the border? Is that our operating procedure at the moment?
Many times that's the case, and a lot of times we'll have unaccompanied minors at the border as well, and they'll have a name attached to them that someone's put on who their sponsor in the U.S. is going to be. And, it's just, there's not really a check on whether that person's actually a family member. It's just, it's not a very good system for protecting the lives of the migrants. It's not a very good system for right now for protecting our communities here in the United States as well. We've got to get back to law and order on our border. It's good for our communities here. It's also good for the migrants that are being taken advantage in this situation.
Is this outcome that we're hearing about right now, is this a function of new policy at the border that the Biden administration has put into place? Or is this a function of the number of people who are now crossing the border and border officials are just having to react, and this is the way that they are reacting?
Well, those two are connected. The reason we have such a surge at the border is because of the policies in large part by this administration and the weakening of, when the cartels knew that Biden was coming to office, they started gearing up their, for them, it's like, oh, great, let's start getting our system up and running. Let's start getting the notice out to start bringing people to the border. And, when they hear things like maybe, okay, Title 42 is going away, for them, they're looking at their business model and saying, okay, we can take advantage of people. And we know about the illicit drugs coming across, the tens of thousands of fentanyl deaths that have happened in the United States throughout community after community in our country. But in the cartel's minds, yes, they traffic in drugs as well, but they can only sell once. Human lives, they look at it as, hey, this is residual income for them. We can traffic, take advantage of a person over and over and over again. And this is the sick, demented mind of the cartels, and why we have to be very serious about what's going on at the border.
I want to play one other statement here from Tara Lee Rodas, who's the whistleblower from HHS in this case, and get your response. Let's play clip 7.
I think most people don't know. They have no idea that children are going to unrelated people, that children are definitely, we have proof, evidence, that they're being recruited and transported. They're then in debt bondage.
She uses the phrase debt bondage there. Congressman, what is she referring to?
Well, everyone who comes across the border, everything that comes across the border, the cartels control the southern side of our border. That's for what we would even think legitimate trade. You can talk about avocados and calves and all that other stuff too. They're also paying the cartels a propina or a fee, in a sense, to come across the border. Well, humans who come across the border are also coming to the cartels and paying thousands of dollars to the cartels. Sometimes they don't have the money to do so. And so tragically, they end up indebting themselves to the cartels to pay this back, many times out of their lives and bodies. And again, this is why we need to be very serious about the infrastructure at the border, about getting our Border Patrol agents back to securing our border and not sitting at a computer typing in and processing and it's get them back to doing their job of securing our border, securing the communities, pushing back on the lawless aspect of what's going on, and stop empowering, aiding, and abetting these cartels.
And that certainly has to be the goal. And I have got to think there's going to be bipartisan support for that effort. And I know that you and the rest of your Republican colleagues are going to have more to say about that in the Congress to come as you take the majority. And we certainly hope and pray that much success will be found in that effort. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.